evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to Plain Talk. We're 2 minutes late, and it's all my fault. And for those of you who get the link from me on WhatsApp that I usually send while that animation is being played, and I'm running late with, I apologize for that as well. But tonight we're joined in on set on the show by a man that really needs no introduction. He's gone from being a track superstar to the sought after coach of the future superstars. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Atto Boldon. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Glad to be on with you tonight.
Right. How have you been dealing with COVID-19 coronavirus, the quarantine that came with it, and all that it has done to affect you and the training for your team of stars, future stars?
It's a time at which you want to, I think you need to look a little bit bigger than your own house, your own city, your own backyard. And I have tried to, in the middle of all of this, remember that this is a real thing going on out there with real people losing their lives and not being able to have weddings or go to their families' funerals as I've experienced. So yeah, there's no Olympics and sport is in a really bad way, but that is such a small part of what's going on that I have tried to remind myself of that as well as those around me that this is a lot bigger than just sport or what you do for a living.
But with training and stuff, like, and I follow Brianna. So,
Yeah.
is she still allowed to train? Does she have access to facilities to train? Can she continue her development?
Yes and no. The track where she trains is a track that I helped to design and build. And we were told last week that if we continue to come, that we're going to have some legal issues. And that just blew my mind because the state of Florida is technically reopened, but our city, we have a very liberal mayor who is very much into the science and the numbers, and he is not yet ready to open the city. I think he said May 15th is when he's going to reopen. So we are actually looking at a situation where Brianna comes, we do a little pool by me. We have some kind of makeshift stuff here in terms of a gym, but no, we have not. I've not been able to train her in the same way. But again, bigger picture. It's like Brianna, she just turned 18. This too shall pass. She'll be okay, even though it's not an ideal situation.
But was a window of time for a female track athlete at her best? Because, I mean, it's affected everybody, yes. But the world, there was a spotlight on Brianna. She was expected to shatter records. Is she going to lose the opportunity if this goes on much longer? Are there any conversations about, can we run races that are record races where everybody run their own race and we time it? Is there anything going on like that?
No, I actually talked about that kind of in jest, until we understood how serious this thing was going to be with the lockdowns and really not having access to practice. But for Brianna, no, Brianna has a ways to go before. If you ask me what are the peak years for somebody in her position, she probably is not going to record her fastest times until she is almost 25, 26, and maybe by the time she's 29, 30. So again, at 18, it's not like, it's a real urgency. No. Having said that, last year there were 5 women on the planet that ran faster than her in the 100 meters at age 17. So there's a side of me, obviously, that says, look, we already know. We are ready to go right now. But that's just not a reality right now.
But is there going to be, as we've said before, coronavirus is going to be something that we have to learn to live with until there is something like a vaccine or a cure.
Yeah.
Until there is a vaccine or a cure, track and field is stopped dead. Are they going to find ways to live with coronavirus and, as I said, give athletes the opportunity to compete in an empty stadium but run the game? Or any conversations like that?
Because I work for NBC Sports, I am privy to a lot of those conversations outside of track and field, right? So the things that make NBC the most money are NFL football. We have the biggest game every week, Sunday Night Football. college football, we have Notre Dame football as a package. I have seen the various leagues trying to find sort of a crack in the door to see if they can get in. And at almost every turn, they've been rejected because people say, at what
Too dangerous.
cost? At
Too
what
dangerous.
cost? It's too early still. And Philip, if you understand what happened back in 1918 with that so-called Spanish flu, you understand that the second wave was so much worse than the first. So you
Yes.
send people back out
I
there and this big rush, everybody like, yeah, we fed up being inside and we're going back outside and I want my job back and this and that and the other. And my thing is, at what cost? The analogy that I use is this. Okay, so nobody went in the water for the months of March and April because there were 3,000 sharks, right, in the water. Maybe now there's 30 sharks. You going in the water with the 30 sharks? Because I'm not going. I'm not ready to go quite yet. So I know there's all kind of talk about, yeah, maybe track and field will come back in September, maybe this will come back. I saw the FIFA medical doctor say, don't even call me until September 1st, which means that that's a man with numbers that say that he is not ready to pack stadiums until he sees some better numbers. And further to that, I saw on Real Sports with Brian Gumble yesterday where they said that a big reason why Italy got hit so hard is because their leagues, their football leagues, did not pay attention to what was going on, and they packed stadiums, and that is part of why Italy got hit so hard. So I really think sports are finished for 2020. I really do. And people say, no, that is too pessimistic. I'm not pessimistic by nature. That is what I believe.
No, but I mean, for you to take that position, you want to be putting your money literally where your mouth is and taking a big hit.
I am coach and broadcaster. So if I am saying it, I mean, Lord knows I would be happy to be wrong, but I am seeing information and I am looking at numbers that tell me that it doesn't look very promising.
But I want to ask you a question. You're so multi-talented where sport and sport management is concerned. You've put your brand international. Why aren't you doing it for Trinidad sport?
You don't have a show long enough for that, man. Um, I had a long time to think about that. Maybe about 10, 15 years. Um, I know that if I am honest with myself, it is because I demand a certain level of professionalism, a certain level of results that, quite frankly, and other people they don't want to deal with. And I have been criticized as well. This ain't NBC. This is not the states. This is not whatever. And that is essentially to kind of deflect from the problem, which is, as you have said many a night, we like it so, right? We want things to go exactly the way they have gone. As it relates specifically to sport, I feel like the guy in the movie Titanic who was saying basically iceberg dead ahead. And I take my licks, boy. People said all kind of things about me. I was criticizing the young people, always complaining, never have nothing good to say about TNT. And I just realized, you know what? I have to kind of take a step back, focus on the things that I do as it relates to my brand and the people who want me advising them, and kind of let the Titanic hit the iceberg. And right now, what we are seeing, certainly in track and field, is the first stages of the SS
I thought,
Titanic
I
about
thought
to
it.
go belly up. And we got saved from it by about a year because Tokyo obviously is not going to happen this year. But if you're asking me what the Olympic prospects for TNT look like, they're not pretty.
No, but I mean, if anybody wants to take Atto to task for his opinion, I would invite them to go and stand in any of our stadiums, go and stand up in it and look at the maintenance of them. Because a world-class athlete needs to be training in a world-class facility. You can't risk injury on a dry rot running track. I mean, when you look at I don't even know why you haven't written to have your name removed from the Atto Boldon Stadium. You've seen it
Don't get
recently?
me started. Yeah.
You've seen it recently? I
Listen,
think maybe I have to,
when your name is
have to
on a
condemn that stadium.
yeah. Yeah, when your name is on a stadium, people send you pictures there because, as you know, before this lockdown, it's a place where a lot of people went to work out in the morning and so on. And I can't tell you how many direct messages and WhatsApp messages I got with. I told, do you understand what your stadium looks like? And as though it's my stadium. That's funny to me. And they sent me the pictures. I actually have a WhatsApp message from the guy who did most of the surfacing from those stadia in my phone, and he said, "Yeah, I saw where you're going to be on with Phillip, and I just wanted to tell you that you have to make a public appeal that most of the surfaces on these in these stadiums have to be done away with, not just necessarily in track and field, because there's no way that you can develop young talent when your stadia look like like completely left to die."
People just give Gary Griffiths stick for a lot of things. I'm bringing his name up in this because outside the barracks, they have a football training field. Now, Gary's play a lot of sports, and
Yeah, sure.
he tries, he tries. But I watch them strip the football field down to foundation, level it, resurface it, put in the irrigation lines, what needs it, and I think that football field outside on Long Circular Road, outside the barracks, is probably the best football surface in Trinidad right now. And it's sad. It's sad that we live in a country that has produced some of the best athletes in the world. I mean, per capita, we've
Yeah.
really exceeded our expectations. So if we know that we have the potential to produce people of that caliber at that level, to not just compete internationally, but to win internationally, why do we treat sport that is such a massive revenue spinner? Why do we treat sport as such a bastard child?
I think we've been left behind, to be honest. If you look at what sport has become, sport is more professional. It's more of a business. It's more of an industry. And look at some of the people that have sort of been left in charge of our sport. It's either volunteers or people who these people wouldn't get hired to run any sport anywhere else. But in Trinidad, they're king because, well, they end up there and they have three, four friends to keep them in power or vote for them every time there's an election. And everybody else suffers. I listen. The people who know I was coming on your show tonight, I have a phone full of requests. Ato, talk about this. And it's not just track and field, it's people, it's young people, it's established athletes who are so fed up of begging and asking and being frustrated and feeling like they are completely powerless. That, I mean, we talk about how you're right, we punch way above our weight in terms of our population and what we have been able to do, not just in sport and everything. You look, I am never surprised anymore to see how many things, and you talk about this on an almost nightly basis, how many different industries you can go and find a Trinbagonian who not just in it, they are the top of whatever industry that they have chosen, right? And sport is no different. But the difference now is that our years of sort of ignoring the grassroots and really poor administration, those things are catching up to us. And now, when has sport ever been worse in TNT, right? Not in my lifetime. I have never seen everybody in court, they're fighting, and they have almost no future prospects. And I am scared for Tokyo because I know how much of my life was looking at what was going on after 76 and Hazley and saying, you know what, that drought has to end. And thank God for everybody who has come after me to keep that streak going. My concern is not even that the streak is going to end in Tokyo in terms of TNT winning Olympic medals, it's that I don't see where the medals are going to come from in 2024 and 2028. And this is what I do for a living to kind of forecast. Last year at the World Championships for track and field, I said, random medals together is not going to be close. And of course, the usual chorus of, oh, how you going to say that, etc., etc. We didn't win any. And quite frankly, we weren't that close. And I'm telling you, what we are getting ready for here in the next three Olympic Games, '01, 21, 24, and 28, it's not going to be pretty for them.
But I thought when I said we treat sport like a bastard child, when the current minister of sport was appointed as the minister of sport, she didn't even know. It wasn't discussed. She wasn't asked. She said she knows nothing about sports. She ran, jumped, skipped as a child. Maybe that's why they gave her the ministry. She said those words.
Well, the last minister had done such a fine job that they had to get rid of him in a real hurry. So I sympathize with the honorable minister of sport because, by her own admission, she was like, your guess as to how I got here is as good as mine, and she clearly did not. That would not have been the ministry she would have chosen. But it goes beyond that, huh? Because I mean, I talked about grassroots and coming back to my sport a little bit. You have a current administration in track and field who they have openly said, or he has openly said, Trinidad and Tobago is a nation of sprinters. So we ain't looking to develop no distance runners and well field events, forget that. And I contrast that with interacting with the Jamaicans who in 2008 in Beijing, you'll remember they swept the 100 meters women, right? First, second, second. There were only Jamaicans on that podium. And everybody was celebrating and clapping. You know what they were doing? They were trying to figure out how to get more medals in other events. In the last World Championships last year, now 11 years after, their field events did better than their sprints. You know why? Because they have administrators who are always casting the net wider, 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 trying to figure out how we can get more, more, more. We are content to see if somebody catch form and hopefully we get a medal next year. That is two polar
But
opposite ways of
but I
thinking.
thought Jamaica was a country that was struggling to pay their national electric bill, so they couldn't have no massive funding to throw behind sports. How did they manage to do that? And contrast and compare this to Trinidad, that spends so many hundreds of millions of dollars ostensibly on sports. Where does the money go? Are we funding it properly? Is there what is going on in sport in Trinidad and Tobago? Because it's not from a lack of funds. We spend the money. Sport TT gets a lot of money. What's happening with the money?
Have you seen how Jamaica's economy is doing lately? Because they're not doing too bad at all.
No, they're doing fantastic, and I will go there with you if you want to go there. But I'm saying you took me back to 2008, and they just turned this corner. So and if you're winning, if you're packing the podiums in 2008, you had to have been working on that at least 4 years before. So where our funding come from? I mean, they're obviously doing magic with little. What are we doing in Trinidad and Tobago?
You're a big fan of F1 racing?
I watch a little. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan. I just try to keep up with everything.
Okay, so we are like a F1 team that spends a lot of money. We have a pretty car and the best wheels and suspension and everything. Our engine isn't bad, but our drivers, they ain't really so hot. So on the surface, you go, but wait a minute. But this money that's being spent indicate that you should be competing with McLaren and Ferrari and some of the other big boys. But it's not being driven by people who understand. The other thing is, and again, this goes back. Listen, part of the reason why I tune in to hear you so often is because a lot of the things that I hear you say about society are the things that I say to myself about sport. You see, when you talk about how the way that you approach something, it kind of has to come from the top down. That is something that in sport we we don't handle things that way. I have been criticized, for example, when Carifta used to be the feeder for who is next, right? You could see a Darrell Brown coming because he's a Carifta champion and a MVP award winner, and he went on to win medals for TNT and have a good career. When the Carifta team wasn't doing well, and they would come back. We used to be second behind Jamaica and we'd fall to third, fourth, whatever. And I said, but how you ever come back and sit down in the VIP lounge and tell the press that the team did well? The team did not do well. And I understand that yes, you don't want to I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be harsh on the athletes or whatever, but at some point you have to face your reality. And because we have these mostly stenographers who their job is to just write what was said in the press conference, we're not challenging it, we're not checking it. That continued to the point now where we cannot identify somebody homegrown that is coming up in any event in track and field. And it's because there's no accountability. You talk about the contrast with Jamaica. You come, well, listen, if Jamaica get 15, 20 medals less than the character before, somebody had to go, somebody getting fired, somebody had to leave their work because that they will not, the public won't tolerate it. And that is not acceptable. We don't have that kind of issues. We don't take sport that seriously. We don't.
Why you think again? We produce people. I mean, look at Evan and Tracy's son, Dylan. Look at what he's doing.
Mhm.
Imagine if we were really paying attention to swimming in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, we could get something. We have people gymnastics. Our people are naturally predisposed. I look at there are communities in this country that I deal with that have so many young people with nothing else to turn to, that have so much natural talent. And I'm thinking, because and the reason I brought up Evan and Tracy's son, and I call it like that, is because I watch the work, especially Tracy. How she'd get up in the morning and 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, she making sure her son goes to swim. And I know that by the time somebody hears your name in sport and and you show that you have medal potential, somebody has been working with that person for a long time to get them to there. Who do these young people in Trinidad? We rebuilt the Diego Martin Four Roads Community Center. It's under construction 5 years now. How do you take 5 years to reconstruct a 500 square foot building? It's too much politics, it's too much games in the sports. And I know you can't say this, but I have to say it because the only people who message you to tell you MMA, the work that Dwayne Hines and Brian Young's son, that they were doing trying to build mixed martial arts in Trinidad and Tobago, nothing. They have to go and fight in Cascadia Hotel. Our bodybuilders, we have one of our best bodybuilders just had to stop representing Trinidad and Tobago because he can't even get funding to buy his food and his proteins. He had to take representation from somewhere else, martial arts, mixed martial arts, and I still ain't reached the thing that we really good at: cricket, football, track and field.
Listen, that to me is the greatest tragedy in our history. You see what you talk about there? When I was an active athlete, especially, I would get a lot of emails, letters. The office would get calls in Trinidad about Atto. There is athlete X in the back of so and so. I mean, and it's not just in Trinidad. Sometimes it is expats, children, right? So you have somebody who's a Trini, but they live in New York, they live in Toronto, they live in Miami, whatever. And so many of those young athletes, both at home and abroad, they got so frustrated with a system that they felt was either unfair to them, couldn't further their development, that we have an entire generation of athletes across the board in all sports that just decided, you know what? I think I have a talent. I'm certainly willing to work at it, but I can't deal with it. I can't deal with this anymore. And they just gave up. And I think now we are starting to see some of what that has given us because the well is running dry.
I watched a squabble over bike wheels with one of the top
Yep.
cyclists in the world. I watched that and I was so embarrassed. We're talking about an athlete who has given up his young life. Again, I need to say this to the listeners watching this: an athlete that becomes world potential. I watched a video with Brianna and I laughed. I watched a video with Brianna and some other girls and they were dancing and she couldn't dance. And I'm saying, this poor child, all she knows is running. She never even had a chance to go out and party, and people don't grasp the level of the sacrifice that a human being has to make to become a world-class athlete. And they don't understand. There's a series on Netflix right now with Michael Jordan, and it's a brilliant, brilliant show to watch because
Last time.
it tells you about the frustration that athletes feel with what he referred to as the front office, because it is just as important. And he said that over and over. He said the front office is just as important as what's going on the court. And if they're making a mess in the front office, they could mess it up for the athletes on the court.
But you see, Philip, you have to remember too that we are a society where people don't like to make waves, right? I mean, I think you are the exception. I am the exception. There are a lot of select examples of people who don't mind upsetting the apple cart. You see these fellas here over my left shoulder. When everybody else had up Michael Jackson and thing in their rooms when they were small, my uncle taught these fellas at San Jose State. So I grew up with yeah with a father who was very militant, but also having a sense of if it is something that you believe in to be a just cause, then it don't matter who you're upset along the way. And I am lucky enough to be friends with both Dr. John Carlos as well as Tommy Smith, and it's amazing to hear their stories about how ostracized they were when they did that thing some 52 years ago now. And I look at it and I am no John Carlos, I am no Tommy Smith, but I wonder if we have enough people who are ready to kind of lay it all on the line and say, you know what? I am no longer content to just kind of wallow in the mire while everything around me does not go the way that I want. Because what I have experienced is that, listen, I have conversations and say, listen now, we have to fix blah, 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 because this person, the way that they are leading is not going to lead to the results that we want. And the person agrees with you. And when the conversation done, they say, but Ato, I'm a partner, you know. And you see right there, I exit the highway. Because what you are saying is that your friendship with that person is more important than what you know is something that should be changed. And that has been one of my greatest frustrations.
Ato, but that is integrity. It comes down to integrity. I will fight for something that has nothing to do with me. I tell people I have fought causes and lost personally, been victimized for causes that don't affect me personally. But what you just said is a fact that we have to get back to a place where people take responsibility for everything. Everybody's talking about COVID-19, and after COVID-19, normal can't be normal anymore, it's going to change. And I'm sitting and I'm wondering, should I ask, how does it change if you continue normal as normal? Because if you just sit thinking that you are a beneficiary or you're entitled to certain things, when I speak on issues and expose the historic background behind things in Trinidad and Tobago and how they come to be the way they are, friends in my circle and family members get upset because it doesn't nobody else has access to that. But I have walked from the top of Fort George through Cocorite to Western Main Road, through places like Waterhole and Harding Place. Atto, there is no justification for a country this wealthy to ever produce places like that. But in those places, there are young people who used to fish and swim, and they used
Right.
to cross that highway to go to the sea, and now the sea is blocked off from them. We've developed our greed financially at the expense, and I say that Trinidad and Tobago is eating its young people. Somebody just messaged me. The future track athletes and coaches in Trinidad and Tobago dying in a hail of bullets. We do not have in Trinidad and Tobago a vision for people and sports as an option in that vision. To say that there are going to be people who are academically inclined, there are people who are going to be artistically inclined, there are people who are going to be tradesmen, there are people who are going to be sportsmen. COVID-19 just taught the world that you need all of the above. You can't just have Kim Kardashian. You have to have a lot of other people to hold the world up, or the world will fall. And why it is our prestige schools all across the board not offering opportunities for our young people to find their passion and develop it. And the reason I'm asking you all of this is because the type of person you are, Atto, any dream for a new Trinidad and Tobago, any dream for a Trinidad and Tobago that tries to lift itself up and lift all its people up, has to have an Atto Boldon involved.
Well, some may disagree because for a lot of years when you are used to this, when you are critical, people have to find ways to dismiss it. So for me, it was dismissed as, well, he trying to find a walk, or I don't know. They came up with a lot of things, and I mean, I was quoted in an interview this week saying that it is about time that we start paying Olympic athletes. Well, I haven't been an Olympic athlete for 16 years, so that is not something that I am trying to advocate
The
for
biggest one
myself,
personally. Yeah.
right? Brianna just signed a very big contract. She not looking for money, so this is not something where
It,
I'm trying to take care of
it
my
might be.
household. It's because it should be so. It should be so, and I think that I look now at everybody being so thirsty for sport, right? I know you are big into sports, and people are telling me, boy, I would watch anything now. I'd watch curling. I would watch paint drying Olympics. I think that sport has a real I think people are realizing now how big a role sports plays in life and wider society at large. So to me, we have an opportunity now to say, you know what? Yes, sports will come back, but certain things need to change. Let us try and do some things that are more in favor of the athletes and maybe a little less, the powers that be and the governing bodies. I don't know if we can do it though.
No, but I mean, when you look, we have stadia, and some we call it stadiums, plural in Trinidad. We have
That is
enough of
that.
them.
Yeah,
Is it
that is
Major?
never the problem though. People always talk about we have these stadia. These stadia don't matter. Again, the F1
Well,
team is like you have a garage. Who driving?
two of the biggest football teams in Italy share one. I mean, AC Milan and Inter Milan for a long time shared one stadium. So it's not like we can't create football leagues in Trinidad and track and field leagues in Trinidad and have young people have an opportunity. The business community, their money follows eyeballs. If football, my son, I have a 26-year-old son, he and all of his friends, the big thing now is they go down to Woodbrook Youth Center and other enclosed places and play football 5-a-side, 6-a-side, and it's a real sweat. They play in the savannah, anywhere they could get a space. But when you go King George Fifth Park, where they're running their football and thing, you could have a future Dwight York break his ankle in a hole that nobody's maintaining the field. Nobody's maintaining it. Nobody's creating a space. And then you look to Brazil, because if people talk about Brazil, Brazil has situations set up where they have 20 football fields alongside each other just for people to go and sweat, and you have to book like basketball courts. Trinidad has a lot of good basketball players. We just found
Yes.
out a Trinidadian just signed as a he just got a big contract. I think it was you that put
That's
it on
right.
Facebook. That's a Trini, and we applaud. We applaud. Look at Trini making it in NFL, but Trinidad didn't help him. Trinidad didn't help that person, and
Yeah.
Trinidad could be producing world class athletes. And I talk all the time about the people who get stuck in a minimum wage life that could have had a multi-million-dollar life. But Trinidad and Tobago blocks you.
It does,
Where
and
is
and
the
that is the people who express frustration to me are the people who get stuck at one or more levels. Some of them, I mean, I think of somebody like a Karan Clement. I don't know if you know that name. Karan Clement was born in Trinidad, grew up in the States, and decided he wanted to represent TNT. And he tried to get in touch with one of our authorities. And this is him telling me the story. He says, they wasn't studying me. So he went and ran for the States. He's the reigning Olympic champion now from Rio 5 years from 4 years ago. So and he's just one story, because of course there are other people who have that kind of story where maybe they grew up in Trinidad and they just felt like everything was against them, no matter what. And there's a lot of nepotism that goes on in these various sporting organizations. So yes you're good at and thank God, look, in track and field we have a clock. So if you're good, the clock says you're good, and nobody could say, well, football and some of these other sports are different because it's so subjective. But there are other sports in which, if your child and that parent is not aligned with the right people, it don't matter how good he or she is. They're staying
Exactly.
home. So I mean, there's so much corruption and nepotism sometimes in some of these organizations that yeah, you are going to lose a lot of talent because who wants to deal with that? Who wants to deal with that for for decades and decades? And I don't think it's getting better. I think it's getting worse. Look at how many of these associations are in court right now.
You can't use that as a benchmark, no, because I want to ask you this. If somebody was to hand you the responsibility and they said, look, a blank check, fix
Yes.
sport in Trinidad, where would you start? What would you do? I don't have to give away any trade secrets here, but I'm just saying, would you be able to take up the responsibility? And when will it start to bear fruit? 5 years, 10 years from now? If you started planting seeds now, the development of sport in all of the disciplines that Trinidad have demonstrated. I mean, we produced Leslie Tiger Stewart. We've demonstrated that we could play in all manner of sport. How long would it take, and could you do it if you were given the opportunity?
Um, yes, I think I could, but not because I would decide, okay, I lead anything. The first thing is the first thing I would do is to figure out who was part of my team. I can tell you right now, a lot of people in a lot of sports and a lot of positions of power had to go home. It's like, we've seen your results, and that's why we are where we are now.
Fair
No, it would
enough.
not be a fruit immediately. It would not be a fruit immediately. The other big avenue that I would do is I would take is you have to find outside talent. Yes, we're gonna come back into TNT and we're gonna create better avenues, take out some of these roadblocks, get rid of some of the morass that's in a lot of these associations. But you have to find athletes that are from outside. Because trust me when I tell you, there is no, I know because of so many of these athletes and their parents contact me. Hey, Ato, I live in New York, London, Toronto, and we born in Trinidad, my child born here, and he or she is doing well in fill in the blank. He's the best, he or she's the best, and blah blah blah. How do we go about representing TNT? That is a whole diamond mine. I don't want to say gold mine. That's a diamond mine sitting out there that we have no direct channels. I don't see it online, which would be the easiest place for it to be. I don't see the direct channels. Once I got back home, you talked about the money. You're right. There is the money, but I have been in a lot of these boardrooms where private sector money is being doled out. So for example, was trying to be an advocate for a certain entity. And the guy across from, or the lady across from me in that boardroom says, look, I told, it's not that we don't have the money, we have the money, but we don't want to give the money to an association that is going to squander it, steal it, direct it in a direction that we don't agree with. And that is why so many of the sort of established guard have to head home, because the people who are in charge of the money, they're not saying it, but they already know. I'm not going to give our money to them because I know what's going to happen to it. I believe that this constant dependence on the ministry and the sports company and all of that has hurt our sport, because most of the frustration that I hear comes from athletes who don't want to deal with the bureaucracy. To me, if you get some private sector money and start to create a lot of avenues, particularly out of the high school path, and let me tell you why I say that. In track and field, for example, we are dependent on our clubs, and it's an archaic system. The clubs are not producing like they used to. I talked about our Carifta results and how the highest we can hope for now when we go Carifta for track and field is third, right? When Jamaica was beating us, they're like, "After wash them out. Jamaica is twice our population. We can't beat Jamaica. They just have more people than us." I said, "Okay, give on." Bahamas has beaten us, I think, the last 15 years in a row, if not longer. I go, wait a minute. How much people Bahamas have? But you know what Bahamas figured out? Bahamas looked at Jamaica and said, okay, we can't have Jamaica's high school system. That is probably the best high school system in the world. But what we can do is we are dependent on no club. We are going to go and find the talent in our high schools. make our high school championships an attractive thing for young people to focus on. And now Bahamas punches maybe above its weight more than any other country in many sports, including track and field, because somebody in the Bahamas said, you know what, we are going to we are going to effect some radical change in how our young future sportsmen and sportswomen are developed. In Trinidad and Tobago, the reason why I say a lot of people have to go home is because everybody is content to do it the way it's been done for the last 30 or 40 years. And I am on the outside looking in and going, but that is literally an insanity, right? Doing the same
Doing the
thing and
same thing.
expecting a different result. And people are saying, but Ato, one to you. And I'm thinking, what happened to you? Because whether or not you realize it, you are being left behind. And the results speak for themselves.
100,000 children in high school in Trinidad and Tobago, what you consider high school. We have 100,000 children at a time. So yeah, that seems to be a no-brainer. The fact that you've said that, have you ever said that to anybody in any authority in this country? Has that ever been a conversation at any point?
Um, there are people who are watching this interview now and they're like, that has come out of Ato's mouth for about the last 5 or 10 years. But you have to understand how, well, you have to understand how petty things get. Huh? Things get petty in a way that I look at grown men and I just go, wow, you are that petty. I'll give you an example. In 2015, they put me to coach the women's 4x1 at the World Championships, right? Myself and Doc Hippolyte. And Doc Hippolyte, I want to give him credit. He was the man in charge and he delegated that team to me. He was looking on the corner of his eye, but he was confident enough in my abilities to say, Ato, that is you. I will supervise, but I trust in you to do that, right? The ladies did well. It's their first medal, bronze at the World Championships. First medal and the only medal that they've won, Worlds or Olympics, right? So you would think, okay, we have a little spark here. Let me fan it, right, and get a little flame going. The very next year, they decide, right, later for you, we're bringing in our guy, and he now going to be in charge. The night before the Olympic Games, the team FaceTimes me from Rio and they say, Ato, we don't like this coach. We don't know what he's talking about. And we want to run the relay the way we ran it last year. So I want you to think about this for a minute. The relay team for Trinidad and Tobago, the women, the only team that made a final in Rio, changed the order that they ran in
Revolted against the coach.
the night before the games, the night before they ran. Now you think about that, and they got fifth. They got fifth. So it just goes to show you that there's a level of pettiness and vindictiveness, and it's not like so. What my dream in life is to be is to make $1 million from being the Trinidad and Tobago coach for the 4x1. No, I did that in part because Khalifa St. Ford was a part of it, but also because I knew I could do the job, and the job got done. And they then said, okay, right, so we're done with that. That was last year. Needless to say, that team has never been a threat, and no other relay teams, no other 4x1 relay teams have been a threat. I ain't giving that example to big myself up. I'm giving you that example of just how petty we can be. Because trust me, I have my story. There are a million other coaches in other fields that have, and in other sports, that have produced. And sport is a results-based business, of course. So nobody want to hear about what you know and how much certificate you have up on your wall. Have you produced? If you have not produced, please step aside. But we have young, talented coaches. I don't want to call no names, but we have young, talented coaches in a myriad of sports that get pushed aside. You know why? They're not part of the establishment, the good old boys club, not welcoming them in. They're not in the right clique. What suffers as a result? Sport.
Just now you said something that lit up the conversation thread And all the PEP members say, yay, Ato for sports minister. If there was a government in this country that was willing, because I know this can't be about the money for you anymore. And this can't be about the accolades, because, I mean, you pretty much done it. Love of country, red, white, and black. You've worn the red, white, and black. You've flown that flag on international stages for decades. Every time Trinities turn on NBC or ESPN or anywhere that you are, they see a Trini and they say, that's Ato. You have a fan club, brother, and a following. You know, if you come on any of the threads and you just make a comment, all the women start messaging me, Ato, Ato, Ato. If you had the opportunity, and I'm asking you this, if a real opportunity presented itself and a government said to you, listen, let's talk about redeveloping sport in Trinidad and Tobago from the ground, not for a stunt, but to give the young people who are inclined in all of these disciplines, give them an opportunity. Would you? I suggest now, could you? I'm asking you now, would you?
I could tell you yes, and that is probably the answer that most people want to hear. Some people would say no, we don't want him anywhere near. It's not like the last couple ministers of sport have been so revolutionary in transforming sport. I am not to answer your question, yes. But I think of that and I think of what is the example that my life is. And I remember when my television career took off, man, and I felt like, yeah, I conquered this sports thing. I'm going for Oprah next, right? I mean, things were really taking off for me. I had an interview with Real Sports with Brian Gumble. I had an audition at Entertainment Tonight, and I was like, yes, boy, this like, I have parlayed this sports thing into something bigger. I've now taken my brand where I could, kind of like Michael Strahan on ABC, right? He used to play football for the Giants. Now he's on Good Morning America, and there's a whole section of the population that doesn't know that Michael Strahan used to play NFL football. They just know him as the very large man that's on Good Morning America. And I got to that Entertainment Tonight stage of interviewing and auditioning, and it looked like I had a very good chance to actually get the job. And I had a conversation with my mother, and she gonna laugh hearing this because I haven't really talked to her about it. And she essentially said, "Ato, I'm your mother. You are telling me that you are going to go and talk about the Kardashians every day, the Real Housewives of Atlanta, wherever it is." She's like, "You, my
That's how,
child. At the end of the day, you have to be true to who you are." Right
indeed.
around that time, right around that time is when Khalifa Saint fought and Brianna showed up, and I literally had to make a decision: are you going to go off and chase that, or are you going to do the thing that kind of feels better in your heart, which is to develop the careers of these young people? I mean, you can kind of tell where I chose, and I've never regretted it. So, to answer your question, after all is said about me, positive or negative, I know that in my heart, the minute that the opportunity comes and I feel like the team and the surroundings and everybody is ready to go and actually effect some real change, I'll be right here because my life is an example of my life has followed my passion. So I'm ready. I'm ready anytime you're ready. But I ain't see that happening just yet.
I want to tell you something though, and I need to say this again. And people message me every day. This one for a guest, and that one for a guest. Bring this one on the show. Bring that one on the show. I said, this is not a talk show. This is a show that wants to demonstrate to Trinidad and Tobago that there are people who are capable of taking this country to where it needs to be, the best in the world. The vision that I have and that you have for Trinidad and Tobago is a Trinidad and Tobago that is the best in the world. Lee Kuan Yew saw a Singapore that was the best in the world. He took Singapore. Today, Singapore is half the size of Trinidad and Tobago. So Trinidad and Tobago could get there with the right visionaries. And another thing, every single time that I announce guests on this show, people who have access to grind send me messages, and I realize something early o'clock. that if people are bad talking you don't have potential in this country. It's something about people with potential in Trinidad and Tobago. If you have the ability to really change this and fix your discipline or in any way affect the development of Trinidad and Tobago, but they're coming at you with knives drawn. Ato, I want to tell you something. I am a fan. The whole Progressive Empowerment Party is a fan. Satish told me that you have limited time because you have other things going on. Chairman of the party,
I'm
Felicia
still okay,
Holder.
it depends on you. They pushed it back another hour, so up to you.
No, but I want to tell you this. I need to finish this sentence because Chairman of the party, Felicia Holder, tell me to tell you she have a crush on you. All the ladies, I have I have the golden girls, the elderly ladies, and I say those are the pep supporters. They drop me like a hot potato when Atto around. So I just let you know. I want to tell you, thank you, brother. Thank you for taking the time. I want to tell you, I know that you have a busy schedule. Thank you for taking the time to educate us and to give us that. And I want to tell you, you have to give us your closing comments and take as much time as you need.
I listen. Thank you for all of that. I am you know that I am somebody who is always paying attention and always, I think, willing to listen to people who I think have good ideas, and it's why I'm tuned in so often to what you are doing on a nightly basis. I also know that the positions that you take and the people who you go after means that I mean, I've dealt with this since I was 18. I am 47 this year. As you say, if you are trying to effect change, people not gonna like that. I am old enough to remember when the savannah used to be one way. Sorry, remember when the savannah used to be two ways,
Wait,
and then they said the savannah is going to be one way. And I was young, but I remember it was like a riot because at the end of the day, everybody talks about the change. People don't really want change. It's like the old adage: who wants change? Me. Who wants to change? I understand that's human nature, and certainly in Toronto Tobago we have we're not
it
different.
wouldn't
We
be
have a
me if
lot of
I
that.
didn't interrupt you. It wouldn't be me if I didn't interrupt you. My sister, she made that same point to me last night. I was taking a walk around the savannah, and she said, I watched you put up a post about a movie Extraction and it gone viral. She said your next post was asking for help for hampers for the needy crickets. So you're absolutely correct.
Extraction is an awesome movie, and anybody who hasn't
But it's
seen it, it's on
awesome movie.
Netflix.
I told her that.
It's
That's
the
why.
best thing I've seen in quarantine, even though I know some of y'all don't like the ending. But anyhow, Philip, I want to thank you for inviting me on your program this evening. I guess in parting, I am somebody who I am always going. I'm always moving, right? Like for me, the craziest part of this is I am not getting on a flight every 4 or 5 days. And I think you've heard a lot of people express this. This coronavirus pandemic has forced, I think, everybody to take a step back and to look at the planet, to look at our society, to look at our lives, and to kind of question where it is that we're going. And for me, and somebody who now has been forced to, it's like everything has been sort of stripped away, right? You're in broadcasting, you're not coaching, like you're just in the house waiting this thing out. I feel like I'm going to come out of this pandemic feeling like, you know what, Atto? You have to do more. Brianna is not enough, and being a broadcaster is certainly not enough. Although I love broadcasting because broadcasting allows me to express my passion for the thing I love most. Not just people running fast, but people realizing their dreams. So I'd like to just close by saying that if you do not come out of this pandemic with 5 or 10 things that, despite how hard you think they are going to be, you are really going to do your best to change for the better and to be a bigger contributor, whether it is being a father, a mother, a uncle, a aunt, a volunteer, anything in that direction. I think all of this time inside will have been wasted. And I know the things that I am good at. I also know the things that I am terrible at. And I have made a solemn promise to myself that even the things that I don't like to do and the things that I have never been good at, I am going to find ways to try to improve and do more of, because I feel like on the day when I leave this earth, I have to be able to look back and say, I did every possible thing I could while I had the time and the opportunity and the platform.
My brother, I'm listening to you say words that come out my mouth regularly, and I'm saying that is exactly the message people need to hear. I was thinking the coaches, the teachers, you're right. So many people got sidetracked. We've lived this life where I need a billion, I need a trillion, I need 100 trillion, and it means nothing. You die and you leave your 100 trillion behind, and you're still gone, and your life was for nothing. You're absolutely correct. If anybody watching this or going through this is not finding a way to find who they are and to maximize their own potential, as you say, it's a complete waste of time. Thank you, my brother. It was an absolute pleasure. Take care.
Pleasure all mine.
And Trinidad and Tobago, that was a message from Atto Boldon. If you didn't hear it, I'm going to be bringing Vernon De Lima on Monday. Vernon De Lima is one of this country's top criminal attorneys. He's going to explain to you why the justice system in Trinidad and Tobago is so completely broken and why. And I'm calling Vernon's name alongside Atto Boldon, and I'm calling his name alongside others that have been on the show, because this show and some of the shows are easy. Some of the shows are easy because I know Atto, and I know where he stands on issues, and I know the path that he's chosen. And I know that all I have to do is sit and listen and let you listen and hear that there is that common thread, that message that we could be the best that we could be, and that we being the best that we could be and taking responsibility for our country could make Trinidad and Tobago the best country in the world. There are other people like the interview with Kirk Mago last night. I have to fight and pull it out of them. But at some point, the message is we are going to know. And people say to me all the time, and they send me a message all the time. So many people, and people that I respect, and I want to say, my priests, my teachers, friends from school, strangers adopting the message and strangers coming on board is a brilliant thing. But when people who know you as a child, I talk about Jerome Stone's mom. I know her since I am 3 years old in kindergarten. If that lady could stand behind the Progressive Empowerment Party, I know I'm doing something right. I have school teachers, deans, and people message me all the time, and they say, we're getting it. If we do not fix it, we could never say we didn't know. We tried. All of us tried. When somebody like Atto speaks, he is speaking from sacrifice. You may dismiss it, but I want to tell you something. Like you, he has dreams. Like you, he has hopes. Like you, he may want to turn what he's driving now into a bigger, better version of itself. But what makes people like him different is that, and what would make somebody like Vernon De Lima, who come out of his retirement to have this show with me on Monday, what makes them different is that they have that spark of wanting to leave a better place behind. And he spoke about his mother, and again, that's another common thread. The people who love and care for this country, who have compassion for Trinidad and Tobago, check them. If you want to find out more about them, they have a parent or a significant caregiver in the background behind them that have been there alongside them, that knows my child could take all of my child's talents and go and become a trillionaire. But my child has heart, compassion, integrity, ethics, and a personal mission statement that will manifest itself in success in a level that will change the world, no matter how small. That's what we all need to be. That's what we could all be. And if you look back at all of the guests on Plain Talk, look at Gary Aboud. As give the name Aboud so much stick because what has been done in this country by people with that last name. And then I look at Gary Aboud and I tell Gary, I am your fan, brother. When you sat under that tent on the foreshore contesting the removal of the mangrove, I came and sat under that tent with you. I was a very young man, early in my activism at the time. But the fact that somebody like Gary Aboud would stand up for the mangrove and the environment gave me hope. I fought alongside Clive Panton and the Woodbrook Action Committee when I was a little boy. This has been a path that I hope that in my time, and I've had the massive good fortune of meeting so many kindred spirits, people who just come to, because the Progressive Empowerment Party and this whole mission, without all of those people, it's just me making noise. And all those people come and say, okay, this is what I bring to the table. The Bible says, what? One could set 10 to flight, two could set 100. We are now a growing mass of critical thinkers, of patriotic citizens that only want a better Trinidad and Tobago. If by now you haven't realized that the only purpose of this mission is a better TNT, then you're deliberately deluding yourself and you're buying into nonsense. The better country that we want, we could have. Tomorrow night we have Janice Leamon Cricky. She's a motivational speaker, former PRO of the Progressive Empowerment Party that has stepped aside for personal reasons, but she's still a foundation member. She's still there helping us. She's still there when we started collecting for the hampers. When I put out the message to collect for the hampers, one of the first messages that I got was from Janice saying, hey, I would put some money in that. And Janice was distributing the Diego Martins, and I told her, regardless of whatever your complications are, you are my designate for my Diego Martin Central candidate, Janice Lemon Cricky. You'll meet her more tomorrow and you'll hear more from her. So until tomorrow, stay safe, Trinidad and Tobago.